I'm Susan Gill, your Citrus County Supervisor of Elections, and you are watching Citrus County Live.
Welcome to the Citrus County Chamber of Commerce, our candidate forum for the sheriff's race. This event is organized by the Government Affairs Committee of the Citrus County Chamber of Commerce. And this is an opportunity for us to engage with the candidates that will be on the primary ballot in August for the Republican nomination that will move on to the general election in November. Normally, we hold this event at one of our chamber luncheons that would have a couple hundred people at it, but with COVID and social distancing, certainly that's all changed. So we're bringing this to you, we're taping it from the Citrus County Chamber Welcome Center where we can afford appropriate social distancing, and then we're going to be bringing this to you later after that. So I want to start by recognizing Screen Monkey as our sponsor for today. So thank you so much for your support of the Chamber and the Chamber's activities. I also want to thank the candidates for being here today. We have Patrick Crippen, Mel Eckley, Mike Klyap, and Mike Prendergast. As you know, these are the Republican nominees. They'll be facing a no-party affiliation opponent in November in the Lee Alexander. So to start today's forum, we have a brief message to you from our Supervisor of Elections, Susan Gill. Susan, I'll turn it over to you.
2020 has been a very challenging year with a lot of uncertainty and fear with the COVID-19 pandemic. And we at the Elections Office, more than ever, want to make your voting experience a good one. The last day to register or to change your political party is July the 20th. You may do this online at our website at www.votecitrus.com, as long as you have a Florida driver's license or a Florida ID. Applications may be downloaded in either English or Spanish, or you may go to any government office, public libraries, or to our office at Meadowcrest at 1500 North Meadowcrest Boulevard in Crystal River. Florida is a closed primary state, which means that voters will receive the ballot in the political party that they are registered. So that means Republicans will get a Republican ballot, Democrats will get a Democratic ballot, and anybody who is registered as an independent with no party affiliation or in a minor party will receive a nonpartisan ballot. This year we expect some universal primaries in the primary election. This is important to remember because that means that the race will be decided in the primary, and that race will be on everyone's ballot regardless of what their party is. Voting by mail is very important this year. Many people are choosing to do that as a health precaution. So if you want to vote by mail, you can go online at votecitrus.com and request a vote by mail ballot be sent to you. We can accept your requests up until August 10th, which is 8 days before the election. And you're reminded that you need to mail your ballot back at least a week before Election Day in order to make sure that that ballot arrives at the Elections Office. We also have a 24-hour drop box at the Elections Office that you can drop your ballot off at. And you have another option if you don't want to mail it. You can drop it at one of the convenient early vote sites that we have. We have 4 of them. There are libraries at the Homosassa Library, at the Beverly Hills Library, Inverness City Hall, and at the Elections Office at Crystal River. So anytime during the early vote period, which is August the 7th through the 15th, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., that you may drop your ballot off. If you choose to vote on Election Day, then you have to go to your polling place that you have been assigned. This is on your voter information card. It's also online on a voter lookup, or you can call our office, of course, and we'll be glad to tell you. But it's important that you remember on Election Day, you have to go to your assigned polling place. When voting in person or at an early vote site, there may be delays if we have to practice social distancing. So we ask your patience, and together we can get through this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Susan. So as we begin today's forum, we're going to have a 3-minute opening statement from each one of our candidates, and at the end of the forum, you'll have an opportunity for a 1-minute closing. In between, we will have questions and that'll be asked by our moderators, and our moderators today are Tabitha Wells and Jim Green. Both of them are members of our Chamber's Government Affairs Committee. So also we have our timekeeper, Gary Mock, here. Gary has some signals for you that we want you to pay attention to. At 30 seconds, he's going to give you a little heads up that you have 30 seconds left in whether it be answering the question or your opening statement. And then when your time is up, he'll be waving that to you as well. So, to start today's forum, we're going to begin with opening statements from each candidate. You'll have 3 minutes for your opening statement. And during that opening period, here's what we'd like to hear from you as candidates. As you introduce yourself, tell us about your background in law enforcement, policy and administration. Tell us why you've chosen to run for this office, and then why you feel, what qualities you bring to the position and the responsibilities of the sheriff. So those are the things that we'd like to hear from you during the opening. And as far as the order at which the candidate's going to speak, we actually have all of the various orders that we could have for the candidate speaking, and we randomized it, so I'll just pick one of the lists randomly. And so the order at which we will hear the opening statements are going to be Mel Eckley, Mike Clyap, Mike Prendergast, and Pat Crippen. So Mel, we will begin with you with your 3-minute opening statement.
Hello, my name is Mel Eckley, and I'm a Republican candidate for Citrus County Sheriff. I have 25 years of progressive law enforcement experience, and I'm running for sheriff to restore the competency, credibility, and trust back in the position of sheriff. Let's face it, the only reason Mike is the sheriff is because Phil Royal passed away. 25 years of progressive law enforcement experience starts when you work at the bottom. 5 years in patrol. From patrol, I worked in community policing, where we learned how to develop relationships with nonprofits, business, and other government entities. From there, I worked in narcotics, worked undercover, executed search warrants, worked on wiretaps, gambling investigations, and prostitution. I clearly know Mike's drug strategy is failing, and it's failing miserably. We can't arrest our way out of a drug addiction problem. From there, I worked in the SRO unit, where I built relationships with staff, students, teachers, and administrators. Later becoming the commander of the unit and negotiating contracts, but not like the failed contracts of Mike here in Citrus County. I led the major crimes unit, the runaway unit, missing abducted child unit. My team worked to solve homicides, rapes, and robberies. I was later appointed the captain of criminal investigations, which included major crimes, vice and narcotics, economic crimes, the victim advocacy program. I work closely with child protection team and the domestic violence unit. As a captain of all investigators, you create policy. You ensure that grants are followed through. You ensure that risk is minimized, and you ensure that the budget that you're entrusted covers the expenditures that those units specifically need. Not like the shortcomings when Mike fails to address needing bulletproof vest in the budget that he submits to the county commission. I was appointed major of logistics, which is the business function in every sheriff's office. I oversaw human resources of 1,300 people, the contract manager of Pasco Hernando State Community College, internal affairs, intelligence-led policing, purchasing and acquisition, and intelligence-led policing. These business functions are a strength and need to be a strength of every law enforcement leader. I was a professor at Pasco Hernando State Community College, where I taught criminology, where I brought the real world into the classroom with the students. As your next sheriff, I'm not going to try to arrest my way out of a drug addiction problem. Until I started talking about drug addiction, Mike and his staff never uttered the words. Until I started talking about homelessness and mental health, they weren't doing anything. These are going to be the focuses of the things that I do. Mike's lost 34% of his sworn staff. 69 people have left the agency since he became sheriff. Thank you.
Next, we will hear from Mike Clyap with your 3-minute opening statement.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Clyap, and I'm honored to be a Republican candidate for sheriff. I am proud to say, out of all the candidates, I am the only one who has been a homeowner and permanent resident of this county for over 3 decades and served this community as a civilian law enforcement professional for 26 years. I also served this great country for 31.5 years in the Army as a military policeman and training instructor, retiring with the rank of first sergeant after being appointed as a command sergeant major for infantry training battalion, a position I held for 18 months. I started my career in law enforcement at the age of 17 as a sheriff's cadet explorer. Proceeded through the ranks, became a cadet captain, at which time I was responsible for doing programs through the community, training other young cadets to be police officers, and then I was hired as a communications officer with the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. After a brief stint there, I went to the Corrections Academy, where I graduated with an outstanding academic achievement. In 1984, I became a police officer with the City of New York and worked Brownsville, Brooklyn, at the time the highest crime area in the city, after attending the New York City Police Academy, one of the best in the nation. 1987, I became a police officer in the city of Crystal River, moving through the ranks to the position of lieutenant. During my career in Crystal River, I processed grants, processed policy and procedure, was responsible for training of high liability areas, so on and so forth. Also was a detective, detective sergeant, sergeant on a multi-jurisdictional task force surrounding the Tri-County area. My training included very many classes, narcotics, where I'm an instructor, lead instructor at the Pasco County Community College. I taught most of the undercover agents that are working currently with the police department and sheriff's department in the current area. The reason I'm running for sheriff is I'm not a politician, and we need an administrator. There's more to crime in Citrus County than narcotics and traffic. Violent crimes, for the most part, since Sheriff Prendergast has taken over, has increased. Overall, when you add together the arrests, they have gone down. The position of sheriff is to defend and protect all citizens of this county and protect the safety of the citizens of this county. I have never left this county for a career opportunity except to serve my country and have shown my obligations to Citrus County. As your sheriff, the community will have access to me 24/7 and my door is always open. I've been a part of this community since 1987, and we also need to get community policing back into this county. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for taking time to watch this video this afternoon, and more importantly, thank you for what you do each and every day as members of the Chamber of Commerce to support our great community here. My name is Mike Prendergast, and I am the Sheriff of Citrus County. Over the course of my lifetime, I spent 31 years on active duty as a United States Army military policeman, serving in some of the toughest locations around the world performing law enforcement duties. I've been a sworn law enforcement officer for more than 36 years now, and I've humbly served the citizens of Citrus County day in and day out since I was sworn in on January 3rd, 2017. Each and every day, our deputies get up and do some amazing things across this community to take care of our community, serve its citizens, and solve problems on behalf of the citizens of our community. I served as the governor's first chief of staff during the Rick Scott administration, and I led an agency responsible for a budget of over $125 million for more than 5 years. I've also served on a variety of issues across the community and across the state and nation that touch upon the lives of citizens from every walk of life. The past 3.5 years have been extraordinarily busy for your Citrus County Sheriff's Office, and we have not let up on our rigorous pursuit of the things that were important to the citizens back in 2016 when I began my journey to run for Sheriff of Citrus County. They talked to me about drugs, and they asked me to do something about the drug problem in Citrus County. They talked to me about the traffic problems that were out there and asked me to do something about that. And lastly, they talked about professionalizing the Sheriff's Office. Well, let me begin with our efforts on the illegal drug front. In 2017, we did 688 drug arrests. We also did 1,070 drug charges. In 2018, we did 774 drug arrests with 1,164 drug charges, and we put 94 drug dealers behind bars. In 2019, 970,000 in drugs were seized in one mission. That was the largest drug bust in the history of the Citrus County Sheriff's Office and indeed our 133-year history of this community. We also, in 2019, arrested 923 for drug-related charges, and we had a total of 1,393 charges. Just those 3 years alone, the numbers come to 2,389 arrests for drug-related charges. But we haven't stopped there. We employed Operation Coin Toss across our community to go after the drug dealers, and we went vigorously after them. There's a lot of data that's going on out there that we're collecting, and data does matter because the experience that we're gathering out there shows that we're getting the job done for our community. Ladies and gentlemen, when you vote on August 18th, experience does matter. And I bring 36 years of unbridled enthusiasm for a job that I am fully committed to. And I'm assuring you today that I will continue to pursue vigorously every criminal who commits crimes in our community and put them behind bars to protect our community. Thank you and God bless you.
So next for our 3-minute opening, we will turn it to Pat Crippen.
Good morning. Thank you for the Chamber for putting on this forum, and also thank you to the citizens for joining in. I hope each and every one of you are healthy and safe. My name is Patrick Crippen. I'm a Republican candidate for sheriff. My family has been here in Citrus County for nearly 50 years. I'm a Florida native. I was born in Miami and raised right here in Citrus County. I attended the Homosassa Elementary School, the Christopher Middle School, graduating in 1984, go Pirates, from the Christopher High School. I attended the Withlacoochee Tech Center for both my law enforcement and corrections certificate. I obtained my associate's degree, again, right here in Citrus County from Central Florida Community College. My bachelor's degree in aeronautics from Embry-Riddle over in Daytona Beach. I'm currently in about one semester for my MBA in business. I started my nearly 20 years of law enforcement right here in Citrus County because I wanted to give back to the community I grew up in. I worked for the City of Crystal River Police Department, followed by the Citrus County Sheriff's Office under Charlie Dean, Sheriff Dean. I also worked for Marion County Sheriff's Office in the state of Florida law enforcement with the Fish and Wildlife Commission, holding the rank of lieutenant. I was recruited from Florida to Airbus Aircraft Systems in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, as their law enforcement executive manager. I was also employed with Textron and General Dynamics, where I held the position as director. I've also held the executive position as vice president. I have had both direct and indirect employees. These corporate positions and experience that I bring to the table are at and beyond the rank of sheriff. I have managed the same issues that a sheriff would manage: personnel, budgets, hiring, firing, policies and procedures, training, directing operations. And actually probably more, because the position I held, you had to get in the trench, and that was trench management. You had to get down and dirty and get in there. After 12 years of employment there in Texas, I returned home. My mom was ill and she was dying. As your next sheriff, I will bring the community together as it was when I grew up in Citrus County. I already have firm relationships with many of the county leaders, the businesses, and citizens. As your next sheriff, I will bring dependability, accessibility, accountability, responsiveness, respectfulness, and last but not least, transparency. I will bring innovative programs to the Sheriff's Office. A top priority for me is the Citizens Advisory Board and the Citizens Impact Unit. We'll probably talk about that in a bit. I bring a diversity to the sheriff's race that has not been in Citrus County, as long as I know, forever. I'm uniquely qualified to hold this position. It is time we look forward and take a proactive approach to the community and ensuring that Citrus County is the safest place in Florida. Thank you.
Now we'll move into our question period. You will have 1.5 minutes to answer each question. During the course of the questioning, everybody will have the opportunity to answer the question, and everybody will, during the period of the question period, everybody will get one question first. And we're going to turn it over to Tabitha and Jim to select the order at which the first question is asked.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. The first question will be answered in the following order. Pat Crippen, Mel Eakley, Mike Clyap, and Mike Pendergast. The question is this: with the tragic death of George Floyd, what will you do as sheriff to ensure that your employees are trained to avoid such tragic outcomes?
That's a great question, thank you. The first thing we need to do is make sure our community is in alignment with the sheriff's office. And we have a sheriff that is out in the community, meeting and greeting and listening to the community. It's just by the grace of God that we didn't have any issues, because that's not happening today. When you have an external force come in and push their agendas on our local people, it can be problems. The second part of that question is diversity of training. I believe that we have a pretty well diverse community here in Citrus County, and that we're diverse, all minorities, black, white, female, and I think that the sheriff's office should represent that. I think that part of a good manager and a good leader is to pluck those people out, those out of the minority, and say, we want you to become a manager, we want you to become a lieutenant or sergeant, and help groom them to get where they need to go. Training, 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 and training. You have to have it. That should be on the very top rung of every entity out there. So that's my answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Eathley?
Training is extremely important. Conducting bias-focused training with your officers, not just annually and in service, it needs to be a weekly discussion. Implicit bias ultimately impacts every law enforcement across the country. It takes intention and purpose to contain and have situational awareness. The blue line on the day in Minnesota, while other officers stood by, that needs to be broken down, and people need to understand that they need to be held accountable not only for their actions, but the actions of the other fellow deputy sheriffs or law enforcement nearby. Relationships need to start long before an incident ever occurs like that. Holding law enforcement officers accountable is something that I've done as a sergeant, a lieutenant, a captain, and ultimately the major, overseeing all internal affairs of all investigations conducted in a sheriff's office in Central Florida of over 1,300 people. Fairness, in discipline, and holding people accountable prevents significant and catastrophic incidents. Training is the foundation, and it's just as important as the services that we provide the citizens each and every day. We have to let the community know how much we care long before they care how much we know. Thank you.
Mr. Clapp?
Yes, sir. Being involved in Chris River for 18 years before going to the Sheriff's Department, I was involved with the community leaders and the residents of the community. When tensions were high, we had it a few times in Citrus County, I was the one that was out there making sure to calm the storm before anything occurred. Our agency at the time, when we had issues, we were in the park, Knights Edition, with the community, with the youth, with the citizens, having events, holding basketball tournaments, the police versus the community, Children's Day, Kids Day, so on and so forth. And we need to get back into the community with the community leaders. Being a trainer on the use of force, human diversity, and other topics of concern. What took place in Minnesota was a tragedy, but it don't allow everybody to look at all law enforcement officers in the light that they put in the police officer of Minnesota. We need to get in the community, get our community leaders involved, have a conversation of what takes place, and present a plan in case it does come to Citrus County between the sheriff's office and the leaders of the sheriff's department, so that an event like Minnesota and throughout this country where there's tragedy and destruction don't occur. Thank you.
The Citrus County Sheriff's Office is a richly diverse agency. We represent the very fabric of this community each and every day. It's not just about race. It's not just about the ethnicities of the community out there. We are out there in the community engaging with our citizens, and we're ensuring that we're communicating with them on an effective basis and listening to their questions, also addressing those questions on a timely manner. What happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota was an unconscionable act. It should have never happened. You had an officer who had 18 prior discipline infractions, yet he violated his solemn oath, and the other 3 officers who were standing there, 2 of them rookies with barely 4 days, 4 shifts on the job, were all involved along with another more senior officer. It was clearly unconscionable. We train to the standards, not only of the state of Florida, but national accreditation standards in the Citrus County Sheriff's Office, and we represent the nation as a leader with cutting-edge employment of not only training for diversity, but training on the acceptable and reasonable law enforcement techniques to effectively deliver public safety to the citizens of our community. It's not an easy task, and in this time right now that we're facing, the time to stand behind your law enforcement has never been more important and critical. If you don't stand behind them, are you willing to stand in front of them? We need great men and women in uniform from all walks of life, and we're actively recruiting them to serve our citizens.
Question number 2, how do you see the role of the agency in interacting and protecting our businesses?
Say it again.
How do you see the role of the agency in interacting and protecting our businesses? First, we will hear from Mr. Eakley, Mr. Quiap, Mr. Prendergast, and Mr. Crippen.
In my previous roles, we were assigned to be part of not only the chamber, lecture and speak to local businesses, but build relationships long before problems ever arise. Policing can't be done on its own. In times like this, communicating effectively, and not about politics, but about people and understanding what lies ahead, ensuring that we're accurate and truthful. Don't minimize and say that things like that will never happen in Citrus County, because that's just not true. Any proven law enforcement leader knows that at any given time, issues may arise that you may never have faced before. Talking to them about a security plan. How can they protect their employees? How can they minimize inconvenience to customers or people who do business with you, but also protecting their safety is extremely important. Having an assessment by your local sheriff's office through crime prevention, through environmental design, understanding how can you create a safe environment, a work environment, and then what do we do from an exterior standpoint? How do we harden your facilities during a time where people may want to force entry and take things that belong to you and your employees? Remember, we need to collaborate, we need to work together. These relationships have to begin long before an incident ever occurs. And being a part of economic development is important for the sheriff's office. Why do people want to bring businesses to Citrus County? Why do you want to grow businesses in Citrus County? And why do you want to start businesses in Citrus County? It's because it's safe and we have a long-lasting relationship. Thank you.
I get phone calls from business leaders on almost an everyday basis. They don't feel that the sheriff's office is currently providing them with the support that they need. They don't know their deputy sheriffs like they used to know in the past. A lot of times they'll respond to a call and everything comes up as a civil matter. They don't seem to appear to be wanting to help the leaders of our community and our business owners. That could be for a couple reasons: the lack of manpower, or in fact the lack of training that might be taking place within the sheriff's office. When we're focusing on marijuana arrest, marijuana seeds, so on and so forth, there's another part of law enforcement, that's community. Community policing has disappeared in the county of Citrus. But were once popular throughout every area of Citrus County, whether you went to Inverness, Copeland Park, the businesses. We're not seeing the law enforcement personnel that we need to, so that we know who we're dealing with, who we could call on a needed basis. It just seems to the community in general that they're being failed by our law enforcement agency. We have many good officers that are out there for the right thing, and I guess because of the lack of manpower since Sheriff Prendergast has taken over, and we can't keep good qualified people because they keep leaving, we need to get good applicants here, pay them well, so that they become a part of Citrus County.
So We're in the midst of a pandemic, and we're also in the midst of an unprecedented period in time known as civil unrest. We have aggressively, prior to the start of the pandemic and throughout the pandemic, engaged with every business leader across the community. I initiated back in the very first year of office business roundtables. I spend quite a bit of time interfacing with businessmen and women across the community. Also, my community crimes detectives get out and insert themselves into discussions at a variety of levels with a variety of employers from across the community. If an employer doesn't know who the deputy is that they can call upon, all they have to do is call me, and we make sure that they get out there and do that. That has happened on a daily basis. Our deputies hand their business cards off to our business leaders. Our community crimes detectives get out and interface with the owners of these businesses, and we are very proactive in our efforts to not only prevent crime, but also to show folks better ways to solve challenges that they've got across the community. It's not just about crime prevention. It is also about ensuring that our businesses are doing the proactive things that they can do to help themselves and ensure that we kick crime out of our community and push it into another area outside of Citrus County. We labor intensely to do that, and our results truly prove that our deputies are doing an outstanding job.
The first thing is, it starts with the leader. You need a leader to be able to sit across the table and talk to people that you probably would not want to talk with or deal with no drama. All right. Second thing is that we have to get our deputies back out into the community and into the businesses. Back when I did it, and Mike will attest to this, we used to put cards in doors that said, we checked your building on this day and this time. That doesn't happen today. We have to make sure that we are touching everybody. One of the things that we will do when I become sheriff is we're going to form a citizens advisory board. That will be a cross demographics of people, businesses, citizens that will directly impact what the sheriff does. It's about the people, not the sheriff. From there, we're going to spin off to a new program called the Citizens Impact Unit. That unit will answer calls directly to the citizens. So we've got to make sure we're visiting our people. We've got to make sure that we're doing these security checks and we're doing preventative, proactive approaches to the community. And the motto is to protect and serve. And we need to learn to do the serving better. Thank you.
Jim?
Okay, next question will be answered in the order of Mike Pendergast, Pat Crippen, Mel Eakley, and Mike Clapp. And the question is this: what is your plan to foster relationships with other law enforcement agencies, including ICE, as well as EMS, fire, Board of County Commissioners, and the school district? How will you interact with other agencies? Mr. Pendergast.
That's a great question. We're already doing that in Citrus County. Since I took over this agency, we have rejoined the task force with the Drug Enforcement Administration. We have also rejoined the task force with the FBI. The results that we get from those relationships have proved to be enormously fruitful. Also, working with alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, we've had an opportunity to get more and more illegal stolen weapons off of the streets of Citrus County. Just about a week ago, we did a drug arrest and we seized some unlawful weapons that have been stolen from members of our own community right here. And of course, our partners at the Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms Agency were able to intervene and help us out. We also work very closely with the U.S. Marshal Service. And our task force that we've got working between the Marshals and the Drug Enforcement Administration have yielded phenomenal results. And the FBI results are things that we continue to yield results from, and I look forward to reporting to you about those in the future. More importantly, as the sheriff in Citrus County, on the morning of the 15th of February 2018, your Citrus County Sheriff's Office was the first sheriff's office in the state of Florida to deploy a sworn law enforcement officer onto every public school campus in Citrus County. and we have not let up off of pursuing that vigorously each and every day since that time. Our work with fire and EMS is absolutely outstanding, and we look forward to continuing that great relationship with them. And we have a lot of other great programs that we're proud of as well.
Thank you. So there's a couple things that popped into my mind here. The first thing is transparency. The citizens of Citrus County need to know that any agency or entity within the county is transparent. So we will train and train again with all the entities, the EMS, fire, to where it's one unit just with a different decal on the door. The second thing is we need to touch our local counties that border up to us to make sure that our mutual agreements are firm and in place, and have training. When I was with Sheriff Dean, we trained all the time, and that's, I hate to say it, but it's a cost of doing business. It's like an insurance policy. From there, we need to really drill down on the drug task force, and we need to put people where we're going to be most advantageous to gain information, number one, and seizures. The second thing or third thing is ICE. On the Fish and Wildlife Commission, I was duly certified as a federal agent. I think that needs to happen in Citrus County. There's some areas that we would have to look for and look at, but you would be able to, my view and my opinion is that there should be people within the sheriff's office that could actually make a federal arrest. So if we have a illegal alien come over or whatever, or there's somebody in the jail that needs to be arrested on a federal warrant, we don't need to hold them. We can arrest them. And then the next thing is just the local training, you know, and involve the city, the city businesses too as well, so they understand what's involved. So, thank you.
Briefly.
This is a great question. So, I spent 25 years in Tampa Bay law enforcement. As a deputy sheriff, sergeant, lieutenant, vice of narcotics, I worked with the DEA task force. As a captain, I oversaw the task force agents that worked in my agency, U.S. Marshals, FBI, Secret Service, DEA. I led the initiative where Pasco County was added as one of the last high-intensity drug trafficking enforcement agency liaisons with the DEA in Central Florida. To understand those relationships is to work and have developed and built those relationships over a long period of time. When I started out as a deputy sergeant, lieutenant, and captain, remember all those relationships, working those patrol beats, working those investigations. I've worked with Tampa PD, Hillsborough SL, Pinellas SO, Hernando, Newport Richey PD, all the internal agencies inside the city of Pasco County, Florida. I work closely with Fire Rescue and Chief Casson. I sat as the assistant administrator on the Pasco County's Consolidated Communications Board. I was part of executive policy group management. That's the EOC. That's the group that tells you when you and your community are in danger. And I can promise you this. I will not try to scare you out of your home like Mike did on Rock Crusher Road telling you water was going to be this high. That's not what leaders do. I've established long relationships with the school board. I've worked on school board contracts. And I can tell you, I was part of an executive team that never put the school board or the school superintendent on edge leading up to the start of school like Mike did. Thank you.
Clap.
Being a part of the community since 1987, we've had our share of different groups coming together. At one time in the government, Citrus County government, we met monthly with EMS, fire, the sheriff's office, the different agencies throughout Citrus County to see what everybody was doing on a regular basis. If there's anything that needed to be changed, any improvements, things that they could help with each other as a agency. We at one time had a drug task force in Citrus County. Why it went away beats the heck out of me. I served on that task force, and it consisted of investigators from the various counties surrounding us. It was twofold. we're able to come into Citrus County as law enforcement officers and purchase narcotics from that criminal element by law enforcement officers, making better cases in the court system where people would be going to jail, not like we do now. We get somebody for a small amount of narcotics, first thing we do is flip them as an informant, and then the next thing, we got the bad guys buying from bad guys, and what we're getting is crappy cases, okay? We had the drug task force here in Citrus County, and we had somebody from DEA and Customs within our sheriff's office. I will bring that back. I will make sure that we focus on narcotics, not only at the street level, the middle management or the middle dealers, and the traffickers that go through Citrus County on a daily basis.
Very good. We're going to turn it over to Tabitha for the next question.
As you all know, we are a water-based tourism community. What resources will you deploy to make our waterways safer?
The order which we asked.
The order is Mr. Clayat, Sheriff Prendergast, Mr. Crippen, and Mr. Eagley.
As an agency, we need to build mutual aid up with the Florida Marine Patrol and patrol the waterways of Homosassa, Crystal River, so on and so forth. When the Crystal River Police Department was in existence, we had a boat where we go ahead and watch for violations in the bay, because if you go down a Memorial Day weekend, 4th of July, it's pretty scary. The taxpayers of the county already pay taxes to have different law enforcement services. For the city of Crystal River, I would go ahead and make sure that we cut them some slack on what they're paying for sheriff office services, because they are paying taxes. We'll keep Marine patrols in that area. We'll keep Marine patrols in Homosassa area, not on a basis of where somebody calls, a vehicle, a vessel hits a pole, then we'll react, and we're going to be proactive in the community, not reactive. A lot of what goes on in this sheriff's office is more reactive than proactive. We need to get out in the community. We need to show use force, not force, show presence, so that the boaters coming up the Homosassa, Crystal River know that we're out there, and they don't need to just wonder, hey, we know they come in on Thursday, we're going to be there all the time for the people of Citrus County.
Next, we have the sheriff.
Over the course of the past 3.5 years, we've expanded the Marine unit of the Citrus County Sheriff's Office by 66% for full-time assets and an additional 66% for part-time assets. We work very closely with our partners at the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. We also work very closely with the United States Coast Guard. In fact, we are out there on a nearly daily basis working alongside of our federal and state partners on the waterways of Citrus County to protect our community. In addition to that, we also have an enormously important partnership with the Department of Homeland Security, where we work with Customs and the Border Patrol to ensure that our waterways are safe from the intrusion of illegal narcotics and other illegal activities flowing into our community. And lastly, with our outstanding partnership with the Marshal Service and the Drug Enforcement Administration, we are able to yield some enormous results through a federal grant that has helped us to deploy additional assets and work very closely with the Federal Aviation Administration to tamp down and prohibit illegal narcotics from getting introduced into our community and imperiling the lives of our citizens. For example, this year we've had 187 drug overdoses in Citrus County and 25 overdose deaths. Without our work on those areas to fight aggressively against drugs, those folks and many others would not only be imperiled, but our death rate would probably triple. It's an important work that we must do, and we take that job very seriously.
Mr. President.
Thank you. With our county having about 25% of the water land, versus land mass, that does not include the shoreline, so it's a pretty huge amount. People come here because of our natural resources, the woods, the water, That's what people come here for. So I believe that we need to be proactive. We need to get the citizens involved. I would like to have a citizens navy where we have people that have boats that we can train them, maybe put a sticker on there, and God forbid there's a hurricane or something like that, we can dispatch these people and they have some knowledge and training and can actually physically help us go out and partner with the deputy and go out and bring people in. I also would say that we need to look at the water dumping. People are dumping stuff in the water and it's terrible. And if you put trash in our resource, people are not going to want to come here. So we need to look at that very seriously. I would like to, there's a program called a PSO right now. I'd like to maybe make a semi-quasi PSO for the water. And also we have about 20,000 veterans here in Citrus, and many retired law enforcement that would love to volunteer their time with their boat and go help us. So we have to leverage those assets out there and take advantage of our community and get them involved. Thank you.
As a certified Coast Guard working captain here in the Nature Coast and specifically in Citrus County, I saw a deputy on the waterways probably once a weekend. Then, 2 Januaries ago, I started speaking about the dangers of the waterways, and we did see Mike respond and add additional resources. You're welcome. Citrus County this year is ranked number 10 out of 67 counties for water-related safety, boating accidents, and injuries. We're ranked with Martin, Palm Beach, Broward, Miami-Dade, Monroe, Collier, and Lee County. And then here in up in Central Florida, we see Citrus County ranked number 10. That's unfortunate. What has he done for the Hell's Gate area? I've written letters to the Coast Guard, the U.S. Corps of Engineers, and FWC asking for their assistance, and I haven't received any response. What are we doing for ramp education? Putting either deputy sheriffs or volunteers at every ramp in Citrus County doing safety inspections so that when people shove off, they know that they're safe. I'm going to create a life jacket tree at every boat ramp. Then I'm going to create a county ordinance with the Board of County Commissioners to ensure anybody who rents a boat sits down and watches a 20-minute safety video. I'm out there weekly and almost every weekend, and I see a lot of accidents and injuries occurring due to unregulated rental operations. Thank you.
So now we're going to move into a period of rapid fire questions. What we're looking for are 1 or 2 word responses, not lengthy responses, just very quick responses. Again, our moderators, Tabitha and Jim, will be asking those questions. This time for the order, we're going to work our way down the table, and we're going to start with Ms. Pendergast, and we'll begin with Tabitha.
Are you for decriminalizing small amounts of marijuana? Yes or no?
No.
Yes.
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 Okay, second question, and Mr. Crippen, you'll be first. We'll go down and back around if that's okay. What is your highest priority if you're elected sheriff? 1 or 2 words.
The community.
Our officers.
Quality of life and our employees.
Continuing to serve.
Okay. The next question will start with Mr. Pyatt. And what is the largest budget you have personally been responsible for? Round
Millions
numbers.
of dollars.
Millions.
I was in charge of the HR unit, and $100 million plus was in my area responsibility as a division commander, $27 million.
$2 billion.
Million.
Okay. Final question, starting with Mr. Eakley. Will you ask the Board of County Commissioners to put the jail back under the management of the Sheriff's Department or continue with private sector operations?
It's a complex question and it needs a lot of research.
No.
Yes, with some stipulations.
Most definitely.
Very good. So now we have an opportunity for a 2-minute close from each candidate. And the order again will be randomly drawn. And so the order will be Pat Crippen, Mel Eckley, Mike Clyap, and Mike Prendergast. We'll begin with Pat with your 2-minute close.
Thank you again for having this forum. You've heard from the candidates. Now it's time for you, the viewers, to do your homework. Check online, do your internet searches, and go on the Chronicle. My campaign has worked over 2 years to ensure our message was sent loud and clear to the citizens. As sheriff, we will step out of the proverbial law enforcement box, focusing on a proactive approach and methodology for our community. We will introduce new programs such as the Citizens Advisory Board and the Citizens Impact Unit. Both will answer to the community. I will lead by example and promote a family atmosphere as it was when I worked at the sheriff's office. We will start with a zero-based budget and compare it to the current archaic budget that is being used today. We will make sure the office is being run effectively and efficiently. In closing, I ask this simple question. Is your current sheriff involved with the community? Does your current sheriff cooperate with other entities? Is his door always open? Does he represent you? You, the citizens, will have my cell phone, and my door will always be open. You will get a response to your question. We need an excellent sheriff's office to focus on the citizens and the community, all the while we're looking at taking care of the employees and enforcing all the laws in a professional manner, meeting and exceeding our great county. Thank you.
Mr. Akeley?
If I'm elected your sheriff, I'm not going to wait 4 years for a campaign to decide to build relationships with our county commissioners and our school board superintendents. He's not getting it done. I'm not going to wait 4 years for catastrophic incidents like communication officer shortages for me to react. I'm not going to let 69 people walk out the door due to his leadership failures. I'm going to return the Board of County Commissioners' trust in me so I can spend your federal forfeiture money. Because I think he's the only sheriff where that has been taken away from him. I've been talking about drug addiction and mental health and homelessness, and now it's become popular and he's starting to talk about it. Well, if during this campaign, Citrus County is better because I'm bringing issues and leadership qualities to his position, well, I guess that we're better for that. I'm going to focus on drug trafficking organizations, not arresting addicts. As a career law enforcement officer, you can't arrest your way out of a drug problem, and I surely won't do a social media post where I make a mockery with a fellow captain about Operation Coin Loss. These expensive operations have went away many, many years ago, and any proven drug unit commander knows that. Let's start building relationships today. Let's be transparent. Let's have the relationships that Sheriff Dawsey had and Sheriff Dean had, not the fake relationships and the social media exaggerations that occur today. We need a new sheriff. This election is not in a state of emergency. Please do your homework. Ensure that we move forward with a new sheriff on August 2020. Thank you.
Mr. Clapp?
There's not another sheriff candidate that understands issues that affect Citrus County today and contributes more to this community than I do. For over 40 years of public service, including 3 decades in Citrus County, I have served the citizens, my country, and my community in which I reside with pride. I continue every day to be out in the community that I serve. I will put people before politics, and as your sheriff, I will serve everyone equally, not based on race, religion, gender, nationality, or a political affiliation. I will never be controlled by self-service, special interest, or any political party. I have never abandoned the people of Citrus County for my own personal gain, and I will not do it. Becoming the sheriff to me is not a need. I have a good retirement that I earned for my decades of hard work and commitment to my country and this county. Becoming the sheriff to me is not a want for an ego. I have achieved more in my life than most can ever imagine, and I am proud of what I have accomplished. A new sheriff like me is a necessity for the citizens of this county to have a proven and committed leader who has served this county to lead them into the future and not a self-serving politician. On August 18th, an important decision will be made by the citizens. The decision is to vote as citizens to continue to have no voice while 2 political factions fight to gain power and control for themselves. Do we vote for someone who isn't a politician, who wants what is best for all and here's the people of the community? And a person that'll tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. If you want that person, I'm the only qualified candidate for sheriff, and I look forward to your support on August 18, and may God bless you and God bless America.
Mr. Prendergast.
You've heard a lot of political mudslinging from the gentleman to my left here today, but don't buy it. It's for a political agenda. It has nothing to do with what your sheriff's office has been up to for the past 3.5 years. We've labored intensely to serve you and serve our community and serve the future needs of our community from day one. I have not let up. As I said at the beginning, the past 3 years have been enormously busy. We focused on the drug problem that the citizens of our community asked me to do when I shook their hands and went door to door and asked them for their vote in August of 2016. Since that time, we focused on the traffic issues that faced our community and plagued our community. We reduced traffic accidents on the US 19 corridor by 52% back in 2018. We also reduced fatalities in Citrus County by more than 40% in 2019. We've already broken 3 additional records for drug busts and seizures in Citrus County in 2020. That doesn't happen by me. That happens by the brave men and women who put on the cloth, the uniform of the Citrus County Sheriff's Office, and work tirelessly each and every day to serve you, your family, and your futures. I have worked very hard, and I have ensured that our deputies never leave stones unturned to serve you and your families. We will continue to do that should I be worthy enough to get your vote on August 18th and continue to serve as we work forward towards the general election on November 3rd. I am Mike Prendergast. I am the Sheriff of Citrus County. I have served you with the passion and the heart of a lion since I was sworn in on January 3rd, and I will never stop serving because I am committed to you, I'm committed to this community, and I believe that my oath means more than the words that are printed on a piece of paper. I honor that oath each and every day when I put on this uniform, and I go out and serve right alongside of my SWAT team members, my deputy sheriffs, and my tactical impact unit when we execute a search warrant. You can't lead from behind a desk. You can't be a bureaucrat as a sheriff. You have to be a leader. Leadership matters. Experience and results matter, and the experience that I bring to the table is unlike anybody else that's in this race right now, and I again ask you for your vote on August 18th. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless our men and women who put on the uniform of a law enforcement officer.
Candidates, thank you so much for your time today. We greatly appreciate it. We also appreciate the support of our sponsor, who is Screen Monkey Printing, as well as Digital Hound Media for taping today. I want to remind also you watching today that on July the 10th, Friday, July the 10th, the Citrus County Chamber of Commerce will be hosting our next political debate, which will be the Board of County Commissioners. So go ahead and make sure you get your reservations in by contacting the Chamber of Commerce. Again, thank you so much for your time today. Have a great afternoon.